darker than your seats.
We got the 18 here on the 18.
Okay. You know, I'm totally out of kilter now.
Yeah, come on up, join me here. Thank you very much for joining me for this exciting announcement this afternoon. I'm delighted that Eddie is here, as you can see, our sign linguist from the Arkansas School of the Deaf, and I appreciate your support today and attendance here. I'm also glad to be joined by Dr. Houston Davis, President of the University of Central Arkansas, by Director Courtney Pledger, Director of Arkansas Educational Television, as well as Stephen Addison, the Dean of the College of Science and Mathematics at UCA. As you all know, I'm very proud and talk a lot about the success of our computer science initiative here in Arkansas. We started out with a simple mandate encouraging students to take computer science courses, putting $5 million into it each biennium, retraining teachers, and as a result we have soared as a state to be one of the leaders in the nation, if not the top, in computer science education. In fact, we are the top in leading in computer science education across the country. I want to express my thanks to the legislators that are here that have supported this initiative, as well as Anthony Owen, I see here, Director of Computer Science in the Department of Education. We have our Commissioner, Johnny Key, and Maria Markham was be recognized as well, our Director of Higher Education. All have been supportive of this initiative. The logical next step to complement, to supplement, and to continue the leadership role of our computer science initiative is today's announcement, and that is to create the first of its kind cyber range here in Arkansas that will be located at the University of Central Arkansas campus. This cyber range is unique and first of its kind because it will be dedicated to the education of students, both secondary and post-secondary students. It is unique also because it is a dedicated system for this purpose. And to show you how unique and how you just don't find cyber ranges everywhere, we try to do our research, and Texas A&M has a good cyber security program, but they utilize the cyber range at the University of Michigan. If you go over to Georgia, Georgia has a cyber range, but it's really a dedicated facility more working with NSA on national threats versus an educational tool. Florida is looking at this, but Arkansas is clearly in the front. We're leading. We're on the cutting edge of technology and putting it in use in the classroom for the benefit of our students, computer science, technology, and now cybersecurity. This is important because the threat from cybercrime, cyber warfare, and other cyber threats is very real. It has the focus of our national government. It has the focus of industry. It is a threat to our country, but it is a threat to every industry group, which means that every business is looking for those that are coming out of college, coming out of their skill training, that have not only a computer science background, but perhaps even a specialty in cyber threats. They have to protect their systems. So it's not just all a governmental responsibility, but it is industry as well. And so the threat is very real. And that leads me to the announcement today, and that is a grant of $500,000 from the Department of Higher Education to the University of Central Arkansas for a cyber range that will be dedicated on that campus for the use of education of students, for the use in academia, and to build the next generation of cyber warriors, if you will, for the benefit of our state and nation. A cyber range is something that you got to get your mind around, first of all. I come from Homeland Security and law enforcement, and we utilize ranges to practice defense and law enforcement techniques. Well, a cyber range is in the same way, is a dedicated computer system that can simulate a computer network under attack. And so it prepares the students in real time, in a real system, as to threats that they would face. And so this other unique part of this announcement is that it's going to be a cyber range located at the great campus at UCA, but there's going to be a partnership with the Arkansas Educational Television Network. And immediately prior to coming out here today, both Dr. Davis and Courtney Pletcher signed a memorandum of understanding where they're going to utilize the capability at UCA in the cyber range with the educational and broadcast capability of AETN, so that if you're in West Memphis and you are learning about cyber threats, you could actually reserve some time on the cyber range. Or you can log on to a curriculum that will be broadcast by AETN. And so this is exciting to me, and I want you to know you've now exhausted my knowledge of this topic. But I talked a long time on it. But there are more experts that are in this room, and I think they will share about what this will mean for our future. And so with that, I want to welcome to the podium Dr. Houston Davis, President of UCA.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you all for taking the time to be with us today. We appreciate the interest in this very exciting announcement. I first of all want to thank Governor Hutchinson for his leadership, his vision. He's made computer science, information technology, bolstering what we can do and know of information assurance a centerpiece of his work, making things such as coding and understanding the importance of that from a K-12 and a higher education curriculum as well as services standpoint, front and center in terms of the priorities for the state of Arkansas. We are very blessed to have Governor taking lead on those things that really positioning us to be cutting edge as a state, not only in the U.S. but internationally. As was mentioned earlier, there's virtually no sector of the economy that's not impacted by information technology and information assurance. You would be hard-pressed to find an occupational group, and I would say just about everybody that's represented here in this room today knows that some basic competencies in terms of information assurance and what can we do to be both proactive and reactive in those settings is something that's affecting our daily jobs. And just as computer competencies were very much a part of the general education curriculum back in the 80s and 90s, as we look to the future, we see some level of cyber and some level of information assurance being general education outcomes that are going to be involved in higher education broadly. UCA is absolutely committed to exploring how cybersecurity and information assurance impact all fields of study. This is something that is not just about one discipline. As we are meeting with our board and as we meet with our leadership team, and I'd like to acknowledge Ms. Sheila Vaught and Ms. Elizabeth Ferris that are here from our board, Ms. Ferris, our chair, we want to make certain that this is something that is computer science, it's business analytics, it's the basic sciences, it's health sciences, it's the geopolitical, and it's the ethical. All of those disciplines coming together to really think about how we're positioning this asset to benefit our broad student body. But I'm really excited about the fact that this positions UCA, along with our other higher education peers in the state, along with AETN, in building a bridge to K-12 and to the general public, to creating an asset that truly is at the service and educational purposes of the entire state. As we begin working on the partnership with AETN on educational resources, professional development resources, we know that this will aid greatly as we think about how can this impact the learning and learning outcomes as students are moving through our K-12 system and into the higher education settings to pursue their goals and their careers. We're very excited about this. This is going to allow us to do things that there's no way that we could have done without the generosity of the state stepping forward to make the range possible. Very excited about business and industry that have come forward to help us with this. I certainly would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Mr. Brad Hageman, who's here in the room, who's led a group locally that is going to be helping with some operational resources. And we have a number of legislators from the very beginning that have been central to this and have constantly helped us to think broadly. And here in the room, I know we've got Representative David Meeks, Representative Stephen Meeks, appreciate their support, Representative Rick Beck, Representative Steve Maggie, And Senator Jason Rayford couldn't be here today, but he's been in constant dialogue with us as we began visioning and dreaming about what we might do here. This is an asset for the state of Arkansas, and UCA is proud to stand at the forefront of this work. I'm going to ask Dr. Stephen Addison, who's the Dean of College of Science and Mathematics, to step forward and talk a little bit about what the range is going to do for us. Thank you.
So I'd like to begin by thanking the Governor and our legislators for the great support in this initiative. This is a significant milestone in our efforts to make UCA and Arkansas a center for cybersecurity. This is the day we set the steps in motion to bring a cyber range to UCA. So the questions are, what's a cyber range and what will we do with it? Cyber ranges were first widely used to develop cybersecurity at military bases. And that's the origin of the name. Artillery practice on a gunnery range. You improve your golf game on a driving range, and you develop your cyber skills on a cyber range. So what is exactly a range? At the simplest level, it's a couple of racks of computers. More importantly, though, it's the transformational tool for people who want to learn cybersecurity. Just like the telescope transformed astronomy, microscopes transformed biology, the range is the tool that can transform cybersecurity education. It is that important, and it's great to be on the leading edge. So, in a traditional cybersecurity degree program, what you can do is you have an isolated laboratory and you can learn to attack and defend that laboratory. But that doesn't provide the sorts of experiences that you're going to get in the real world. What a cyber range can do is it can simulate any system that we want. It can act as a complete network. You will be on the range, and you can generate internet traffic, and that traffic will be just the same as if you were on the network that you're emulating. But on this network, you can run attack and defense scenarios, and you can run scenarios that increase in sophistication as your skill develops. And the great thing is, once you've mastered defending one network, you can switch to a completely different sort of network. So we'll be able to train students to defend all sorts of computer networks, and certainly all of the ones that they would see in use in the industries around the state. And also, at the end of the day, we can reset the system back to its initial state. Nothing gets damaged, and so we have an isolated system, but one which can simulate, if we want, most of the entire internet. That's a capability that few programs have, and that's what will make this special. Cyber range will also be in use by all students in our computer science program, our management information systems, and it'll play an integral role in the cybersecurity degree program that's currently moving through our approval processes. We recognize that the range is an asset for the entire state. We've negotiated many articulation agreements with computer science and information science programs, and we anticipate that we'll negotiate additional agreements to use the range. We're also, though, going to extend those efforts to the K-12 arena. For the last several years, we've actually been developing cyber education tools for school-age students at UCA. Those efforts have been tested in summer camps. Some of the people who worked on that are in the room today. And those efforts were in association with the Cyber Innovation Center and with Louisiana Tech. The range will allow us to expand those efforts and to broaden the collaboration. The collaboration with AETN will allow us to distribute those sorts of experiences across the state. And one of the things that we've found to be particularly effective is to use game-based learning. Much of the learning is done through scenarios. Up to date, though, those scenarios have been largely on paper. Now we'll be able to use real-world scenarios with those students, and instead of giving them printouts of traffic, they'll gain real experience at what it would be like to be defending a network. So our cyber security efforts are going to have broad-ranging impact. There are currently many jobs open in the state in cybersecurity, but the other thing to notice is it's not just the new jobs that we create, it's the jobs that we will preserve. Because if a small business undergoes a cyber attack, the likelihood is that business it ceases to exist because they can't afford the losses. So training cyber defenders won't only create the new direct jobs, but it'll also help preserve existing jobs, and that again is of great importance to our economy. So that's where we stand today. I'll end by thanking everybody who's been involved by the project, and as I look around the room, many of you have been involved in this project. And I look forward to working with you, working with the governor, the governor's staff, with legislators, and with AETN in the future. Thanks.
Thank you, and delighted to have Director Pledger here from AETN.
Thank you. AETN, Arkansas PBS, and our only statewide public media is thrilled to partner with UCA on cybersecurity training for K through 12 and higher ed, and really, in some ways, all the way up to lifelong learners. I want to particularly thank UCA and President Davis and Dr. Addison and their teams for being creative enough and having the strong initiative to bring something like a cyber range to Arkansas. It's going to be truly unique. And I want to thank Governor Hutchinson for his continued forward-facing, future-looking viewpoint for all of our students. It's going to make a huge difference in Arkansas's future. Our education team, led by Division Director Brian Fields, will continue AETN's strong commitment to computer science education with this initiative. We are just so glad to be able to bring our considerable experience in online education to this, and it's kind of a natural progression of what some of the things that we have been doing. We are currently offering 150 professional development courses in computer science to Arkansas teachers. And overall, our AETN Arkansas Ideas online portal, in partnership with the Arkansas Department of Education, serves over 44,000 K through 12 Arkansas educators who have completed 2.5 million hours through 650 professional development courses. This is really an opportunity for us to lend our media skills and our experience to this cybersecurity curriculum. And our job in this, I think, is to find the most compelling ways to frame and present this future-facing, ground-breaking curriculum in ways that will draw students in, make them instantly interested in it, and then to disseminate these materials statewide to K through 12 and higher education students. AETN is just extremely proud to serve the future of Arkansas's kids and all students from K through 12 and up through higher ed with this initiative. We're glad to be involved. Thank you.
With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
What's the total cost of this cyber range, and where's the rest of the money going to come from? Our budget's pretty tight. I was also curious where the grant money for higher ed, is that from reserves, or is that out of the GIF schedule? Or?
This was discretionary funds that I had approval to send to the Department of Higher Education for this purpose, and we have been working the last couple of months on this project, but it's discretionary funds from last fiscal year that are being applied to this project. In terms of the overall cost, the $500,000 is for the building of the cyber range. That will have to be bid out under our procurement process. That will probably take 60 days or more. And then the cyber range has to be constructed. Then I was pleased that the Dean was hoping that next January it would be functional and operational. We'll see if we can meet that timeline. In terms of other costs, I appreciate that's UCA's contributing obviously to faculty time, to professional development time. This grant is for the construction of the cyber range, which should cover that. Now, help me out if you need to correct on any of that.
So you're not talking, cyber range doesn't cost a couple $1 million?
The cost of the range is the $500,000, and the governor was correct in that. And then we have additionally had companies in the Conway area. We've had some financial institutions, several others that are in the computer science information technology space that have pledged support on operations as well to support the work and the outreach. So this really is a great example of being able to leverage, as you put it, a scarce state dollar, with us being able to leverage the faculty that are in place at UCA, private sector continuing to come forward with some operational money, and then being able to leverage the network that AETN has. I think that dollar is going to be multiplied many times over.
To participate in this program, do they have to be a student actually enrolled in a public, private, or homeschool? Can it be just like me? I need what I was doing.
Well, the capacity is the big question, how to manage the capacity, because you have an online system that can be scheduled, and so I would anticipate that UCA and AETN will work through those issues. The first target is the students of this state. I know West Memphis, El Dorado have schools that are forward-leaning in cybersecurity education, but as the dean pointed out, right now they're looking at paper printouts. This allows them to go online, so they would be scheduling it, their access to it. That would be managed by UCA and AETN. It would also be, utilized as a teaching tool curriculum can be developed and broadcast through AETN as professional development for teachers and computer science educators. And so there's a lot of different aspects to it as to how far that extends. You can envision a sister higher education institution that might want to schedule some time for their unique capability or research function or some other purpose, and so that has to be managed. What's wonderful about the online system is that there's great capacity. Let's see how far we can stretch that in Arkansas and manage that. This is new, it's a first of its kind. We'll have to work through some of those details.
Follow up to Mike's question. There obviously is going to have to be some more funding that's going to have to come up with this once it's operational, correct?
This gets it started with the building of the cyber range. UCA, I'm delighted, has got some great industry partners that are supporting the operational side of it. So I think in terms of investment, it's a question of what is the next, if there's more potential, if this hits a home run and there's greater demand than is anticipated with our educational partners, then there might require additional investment, but this is, we have to wait and see. This is a project that is fully funded for its development, for the joint enterprise of education of our high school and our secondary students, and I believe it will meet that. We'll see where it goes from there. Yes, ma'am.
This question might be more for Nassen,
Yeah.
but it says that the cyber range is really going to help support the cybersecurity degree program that
Yes.
you're hoping to bring. Could you maybe talk a little bit more about that and how popular that type of degree program is, and having that in UCA, what that might
So absolutely. Cybersecurity is one of the fastest growing fields. There's a website called cyberseek.org that the Department of Commerce runs that highlights how many open jobs there are. And if you were to go on there today, you'd see that there's almost 1,000 open jobs in information security in the state. About 400 of them are in the Conway, Little Rock, North Little Rock area. There's actually about 12,000 in Dallas. I think when I looked today, somewhere in the range of 800,000 open jobs across the country. If you look at all of the programs that have been put together to develop cybersecurity specialists, they would be working for years just to meet that demand. The Homeland Security has estimated that in the early 2020s there'll be more than 1 million unfillable jobs. So I would expect this to grow and to grow rapidly. The program that we have developed is an end-to-end cybersecurity program. Some programs just add 1 or 2 classes, but we've taken the route that this is now a comprehensive discipline. It deserves a standalone degree program, and the program will ground undergraduate students in all aspects of cybersecurity.
And I'm just thinking too, just about, the recent Equifax hack. A few years ago we had the Yahoo hack. Is this degree and is this new program something that could potentially train people on how to prevent those types of things?
So absolutely, what we will do is we would have people working on a range, and it would just would be as if they were sitting at wherever Equifax has their operations. And they would be receiving traffic across the internet in the usual way. And what they will do is they will learn to detect hostile traffic, which is often hidden in innocent packets of information. But they'll be learning how to detect those cyber attacks and how to thwart them, exactly. They'll learn what tools are out there, but we'll also be training them to anticipate new threats, because one of the issues currently is most people use antivirus software, but the problem is all that does is prevent known threats. And so one of the things that we want to do is to be able to have people who can anticipate unknown attack vectors, so part of a range actually is you can learn ways to attack computer systems before they actually happen, because at the moment it's tough to do that, because we'd have to practice on real systems that are in production. Well, that might damage those systems. And certainly could leak information. What the range does is it allows you to do those sorts of things, but not put any information actually at risk. So it enables us for students, members of the public, whoever is using it, to gain the full experience of actually being on a computer system under attack, but for there to be no damage after the attack. So.
Do you have a ballpark, talking about operating budget, do you have a ballpark operating budget annual for this thing?
So the major thing really, in addition to internet service and things like that is something that already comes to our campus, but probably the major part would be annual upgrades of software and maintenance, and looking at what goes into a system like that. That maintenance cost is going to be in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $30,000 a year.
With that, thank you very much for this announcement today, and look forward to seeing its success in the future. Thank you very much.